Who had a significant impact in your life by the age of 15? Is it because they were interesting or interested in you? In this episode, I'm going to address the question, how can I improve my relationships and be more sensitive to others? Get ready. It's going to be simple, but very profound. So my name's Doug Andrew. I've helped many people be able to understand how to develop strong relationships and get connected. You've probably heard the adage, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so in this episode, I'm going to share with you how you can be sincerely interested in other people. And when you do that, not only for maybe your partner, your spouse, your children, grandchildren, but your employees, your customers, your clients, your patients. And you would not believe how many doctors, dentists, chiropractors, realtors, CPAs, people who work with people all day long have never stopped to realize how they can connect better with other people with these simple yet profound concepts that I'm going to share with you in this episode. Years ago, they did a survey of 1,000 surgeons. And they found that out of these 1,000 surgeons, those doctors who invested 16 minutes or more being sincerely interested in their patients, the chance of being sued, even if they buggered up on surgery, was next to nil. But every minute less than 16 minutes that they invested being sincerely interested in their patients, the chance of being sued went up 10% every minute. Now, at the time, the HMOs, the health maintenance organizations, couldn't figure out what was going on. Lawsuits were starting to go through the roof because the policy was, hey, this is a business. You can't get personal with these patients. You got to go from one patient to the next to the next. We've got to be efficient here. And they didn't realize that people don't sue people they have relationships with. They sue doctors. They sue their accountant. They sue their financial planner if they don't have a relationship. And every minute less than 16 minutes that they were not sincerely interested, the chance of being sued went up 10%. When they realized that, they began to take time to be personal, to find out, to be sincerely interested. Now, I'm going to share next where the word sincere, I've used it about 4 or 5 times in the last 2 minutes or so. Where does the word sincere come from? It actually comes from ancient Italy, Greece, and you're going to be blown away when you understand the true meaning of the word sincere. So if the visual I'm going to share next resonates with you, you can read about this in my book, Entitlement Abolition. I'm going to give you a link at the end where you can claim your free copy of that book. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling, and I cover the rest of that cost, and I pay for the book. Okay? Now, I mentioned the word sincere. In ancient Italy, Greece, that area of the world, the potters would make pottery, sculptures, but they oftentimes would make a pottery. And they would do that with clay. And then what would they do with it? They would put it in the kiln, the oven, bake it. And oftentimes when it would come out, it would have cracks in it or imperfections, blemishes, or what have you. Now, the potters learned that it was still functional. It could still hold water, but they needed to paint it and finish it off. And so they would melt candle wax into the cracks of the pot, okay? And they would smooth it over and paint it. But if that piece of pottery ever toppled over, where would it break? In the cracked portion, the one that had the wax filler. And this is actually where the term crackpot comes from. Did you know that? See, a crackpot is somebody who does not walk their talk. They act like they're a certain genuine person, but the first straw in the windstorm comes along and they lose it. And everybody goes, golly, you're a crackpot. Yeah, it's because they're not sincere. They have hidden blemishes and imperfections that they hide. Okay, now the potters in the profession, they wanted to maintain integrity, and so to make sure that you were getting your money's worth, that you were buying the real deal. If you had a piece of pottery that did not have phony wax filler, you could stamp that piece of pottery sincere. That's Italian, sincere, sincere. They could stamp it sincere. Sincere means literally without wax. Did you know that? So, your kids and grandkids can tell whether you're sincere or not. You cannot yell at your children, kids, stop yelling when you're yelling. You cannot catch your 6-year-old behind the shed smoking and go up and say, what are you doing? Don't you, hold on. Don't you know that's bad for you? Hello, what you're doing talks way louder than what you're saying. People know whether you're sincere or not. So you want to be sincerely interested in other people. And there's ways that you can do that, but don't try to be phony or fake. They'll see right through you. So one of the most profound ways that I have found to be sincerely interested in others, my kids, my grandkids, teenagers that I mentor, clients, is to do the R factor and DOS conversation. And I attribute Dan Sullivan to this. He came up with this idea years ago. I have different takes on it, but I'm going to share it with you exactly as he taught it to me, and I give credit to him. The R factor is relationship factor, and that's where I sit down and I am sincerely interested. So whenever I would do this, let's say with Boy Scouts, because I used to be a scout leader and my sons became Eagle Scouts, I would do this every year around the campfire. But when they were 18 years old and it was the last time I was going to be camping with them because they were going to graduate from high school and go out into life, I would do it with a 5-year time frame. And I would say, okay, one last time, guys, we're going to go around the campfire and imagine it's 5 years from today. And we're looking back over that 5 years to today. What has to have happened in your life to be happy with the progress you made? And I want you to write it in past tense. Now, they write down things like, well, I've graduated from high school with honors. I've joined the military. I've gone on a religious mission. I've gone on a humanitarian mission. I've met the girl of my dreams. I'm happily married. We have 2 children. I bought my first home. I've written my first book. You can't believe all the goals they write down. And to hear your son or daughter or your Boy Scouts that you've been a leader over talk about their vision for their brighter future, they are expressing what has to have happened in their life. Now, what's magically happening sort of behind the scenes is they know that you are sincerely interested in them and their brighter future. And then just like in one of my tools where we have a breakthrough, where I help them look at the barriers that they need to overcome to achieve that and utilize the resources and have experiences and have final action steps and obtain knowledge, it spells break. Dan Sullivan would teach the DOS, D-O-S. And he would say, now, once you know their vision, you have them write down the 3 biggest dangers that would prevent them from accomplishing that vision. What are the 3 biggest opportunities that they need to seize in order to accomplish that vision or that goal? And what are the 3 greatest strengths? 3, a list of 3. See, the human brain can get around a list of 3 things. We would go around the campfire and all of my Boy Scouts would share their vision of what has to have happened in their life in the next 5 years to be happy with the progress they made. And they would share the dangers that would sort of bugger that up and how they need to prevent those. In other words, they can't make stupid mistakes. They want to visualize their brighter future. You want to consciously train your mind and body to unconsciously act in harmony with your values and vision, okay? And so they're writing down the opportunities they want to seize to be able to get a good college education, get good grades, to get a good job, to date the right young ladies or whatever their goal is. And then they want to harness the best strengths. How powerful is this? 2 benefits. First of all, when they condition their brain to do that, when their buddies may say, hey, we're graduating from high school tomorrow night. You want to join us? We're going to go up at midnight up the canyon and get drunk and celebrate. These young men responded instantly with, why would I do that? That would bugger up my whole vision that I wrote down on that sheet of paper, what I did when Mr. Andrew asked us what has to have happened and what are the big dangers we need to be aware of. And it was to stay away from harmful substances and make stupid choices. Because there were 3 boys that didn't have that vision and they never came home that night. It wasn't my son's friends, but they were 3 from the same high school a few years later and they got killed in the canyon because they were drunk. You have to consciously train your mind and body to unconsciously act. Why would I ever do that? That's in harmony with your values and vision. You have to give them the vision. The second benefit is these boys knew that I was sincerely interested in them. And they loved to share their vision, and they would report to me every year how they were coming on their goals. This is so powerful. So if you want to improve your relationships with others and be more sensitive to them, be sincerely interested, ask them about their future and what has to have happened and help them to eliminate the dangers, seize the best opportunities, and harness the greatest strengths. So in this episode, I have attempted to answer the question, how do I improve my relationships and be more sensitive to other people? I've talked about asking yourself the question, who had a significant impact in my life by the time I was 15 years old? For me, it was my father, my brother, a bishop in our church, my scout leader. But then you ask, why? Why did they have a significant impact? Is it because they were interesting or interested in me, in you? I would say it's because they were interested. So I've talked about how to be sincerely interested. Sincere, means literally without wax, without phony filler. And so I've always appreciated the advice that when you want to have great relationships with others, be sensitive, and you're talking with them, it's not about you, it's about them. Seek first to understand rather than be understood. It's not about you. So no matter what you do, if you're a physician, if you're a realtor, if you're an accountant and clients come in, stop talking about how great you are and all your accolades and alphabet soup behind your name and all the degrees on your wall. It's not about you. Start talking about them. Use the R factor question. Solve their R factor question by eliminating the greatest dangers that will prevent them from having a brighter future. Help them seize the greatest opportunities and harness the greatest strengths that you can bring to the table. So if you're an orthodontist, help them to see their brighter future with a beautiful smile, not just straightening teeth. And eliminate the dangers, build confidence, seize the greatest opportunities, and help them harness the strengths that you have and the skills to build a beautiful smile more than just straightening the teeth. If you're a realtor, be sincerely interested in what they're doing with their real estate and what kind of a home they want to purchase. Be able to help them on how to finance it, how to optimize their assets by using some of the educational videos on this channel. So as we really think about those people that have lived on planet Earth, that at the end of the day, after they've long passed away, Many times we look back and we find people in history that are labeled healers, and they usually weren't physicians, and yet they were labeled as being great healers. Why? There's one common denominator among the people who are said to be healers during their life. Do you know what it was? They were non-judgmental. It didn't matter what people had done. They could go to that person in confidence, and rather than being judged or being accused, what were you thinking when you did that? No, they did not judge. In fact, my wife and I served on a volunteer basis out at a youth prison for 5 years every Sunday and Wednesday, and we did not know what they did. We knew they had done some bad things. Many of them had attempted homicide. Some of them had sexually abused little children. They didn't know any better because they were abused when they were a child. We didn't worry about it. We knew they had done something bad. Our goal and objective was not to judge. So we simply said, your future is spotless if you choose for it to be. Let's not talk about the past. Let's talk about your future and how you can be better. You wouldn't believe how many times we got thank you cards from these incarcerated youth saying, Mr. and Mrs. Andrew, thank you for not judging us. If you want to be a healer, if you want to be sensitive, if you want to have good relationships, make sure that you aren't judging other people, that you are helping them, you're lifting them up, that when they get through interacting with you, they feel better about themselves and their future, and they love to be around you. You brighten the room when you enter it. So many times people, they brighten the room when they leave it because they're always talking about what's going wrong in the world instead of what's going right. Always lift others up. But if you want to uplift others, you must be on higher ground. Remember that. So always be on higher ground, not to look down in a condescending way, but to be able to lift others up and see a brighter future. This is powerful. If you want to learn more, if this is resonating with you, I would recommend you either go to dougandrew.com and you'll see lots of topics. I love to speak about these things. Maybe I could be a speaker at one of your events. Or go to my website, 3dimensionalwealth.com. This is the name of this YouTube channel, 3Dimensional Wealth. And on this website, I have all kinds of resources for concepts very much like this one. So I appreciate you watching, and here's to your brighter future in lifting others up that you care about.